City of Stevens Point Board of Park Commissioners meeting, recorded October 1st, 2025.
All right, let's call the October 1st, 2025 Board of Park Commissioners meeting to order. Roll, please.
Alder Broderick.
Here.
Alder Boozy is not here yet. Freckman.
Here.
Disher. Here. Gladusky.
Here.
Alder Kiemer.
Here.
McDonald.
Here.
O'Connor.
Here.
Shabilsky.
Here.
Sorensen.
Here.
And Carrie, one is excused. We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Item number 2, approval of the August 6, 2025 meeting minutes. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
They have it down there. Doesn't matter.
A second.
Okay. Second by McDonald. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, approval of the Goerke Park Master Plan concept. Dan?
Okay, so the biggest difference in this packet compared to the last time we met ultimately is that the cost estimates are attached to the drawing. So last time, basically the motion was to take the rendering we had, put the cost estimates for review at this meeting. The action item before the Park Commission tonight would be the drawing itself. So the estimates, there's no dollars in our capital budget for the next 5 years. We've also not placed any really design dollars for any of this elements either. And we have no pledges or any fundraising that's taken place at this time either. So in terms of the drawing, really the only thing that was really discussed at length, if you recall last time, was the parking lot on the north end. That is still on the drawing, and the estimate is attached. So at this point, ultimately, I'm looking just as staff to say, Park Commission, anything additional changes, questions on the estimate that I can help with best I can is answer. Otherwise, what this process would be is if there's no changes and the commission would approve it tonight, it would go to the Common Council. The estimates would ultimately just go as part of the plan. So, whatever phase comes first, whether it be an aquatic center pool, or if there's something from one of the partnering groups that says, hey, we'd like to move something forward sooner, each individual element would come forward at a phasing approach at that point. Typically, we usually would look at a design number first and then some sort of, basically construction estimate thereafter. The last, common projects that we've had related to Goerke Park's turf, Plover River Crossing, and Saramer, those took place then basically over a series of years. So this estimate is not small if you look at the full plan here with a nearly 30-acre park. So you probably saw if you read a paper article, if I had to guess, you're talking a decade plus, probably much plus if you looked at everything. And as plans go, as things change over time, there's certainly individual components. One call that I did take on this from a couple neighbors that were trying to talk through where the condition of this was at was just about what does design look like with a master plan down the road. We kind of zeroed in talking specifically about the aquatic center and the number of stalls that are on the north. And in a typical process that we've done from kind of the City of Stevens Point Park Commission standpoint is at the time, let's say we had design dollars for a pool, we would go through a standalone design process. At that time, the zoning administrator would also be looking at square footage and basically our occupancy of that building. And that's when we would know exactly how many stalls would be required, if at all, to be added to the pool or to that area of the park. Then let's just say, for example, nothing was actually needed. That's still a discussion item ultimately here to say to the Park Commission, well, is there still a use for it or a demand? So in the conversation with those two, they were just asking me like, okay, so really there is another thorough discussion that could take place on this? Absolutely. Obviously, in each individual element, when we get into the design elements of it, you all would have another discussion on it. So would council during the capital budgeting process when they actually put the dollars to it if we do. So with that, I can answer any questions. Otherwise, just recapping the process, as you know, we've had multiple public input meetings that were kind of separate at Park Commission. There's been, I think it was to the tune of 5 Park Commission discussions. I can't even count on my phone calls, met with all the user groups. This is by far not a perfect plan. I don't think there's one that exists. There's things that we have user groups that like to see. We have things that staff would like to see. We'd have things that different residents that live further away would like to see versus those that live close. What I will say, though, is I believe this plan is a closer reflection we can get to the feedback we got, and I think it gives us a really good compass to point as we look to upgrade the park into what the community would like to see it be long term. So with that, I can answer any questions.
I'd move to approve plan.
All right.
I'd second.
Motion and a second. All right. Any discussion? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I guess I was pleased or heartened to see some kind of lower price tag items on this list. I mean, it's all relative, of course. I mean, $15,000 is a lot of money. I guess what I'm wondering is if some of those less expensive items specifically like the field event improvements and the batting cages, are those things that are contingent on phasing, like other work being done first, or?
Yeah, so if you look at, here, I'll pull the plan up on the map just to make it easier as I talk about it. Some of the improvements would be contingent on what I would call shuffling of the space. So for example, for really a turf field, actually I'll start backwards. Let's say a drop-off lane that'd be along this area, that would impact the backstops and kind of the existing green space. So if you look at kind of the southern end of this location, the batting cage relocation could certainly be explored and put in because it doesn't interfere with kind of the area of play today. But anything kind of west of that is really contingent on what goes on down the road with the parking lot and or a bus drop-off lane.
Sure.
As we know, as you look at this, the city, I would say a philosophical question, a policy question down the road is, how does that happen? I think if you look at this, the bus lane is not necessarily a park and rec usage, and the way this is kind of laid out, it's not necessarily the park users' usage. It's more related to some of the school districts, operations. So I think that end of it, something like that, we would end up talking with the district, and if they saw that as a priority need for them at a certain time in the future, we would marry up the park improvements that would be adjacent and see how we could work together. And obviously, they wanted to have the input, and they kind of shared their items, but to my knowledge, they've not taken any board action on it. They've not actually looked at laying anything out from any funding side of their side. They just were a participant in this, and if it gets approved, as we look down the road for their improvements, they'd look at it. Other things that are in the cost estimate, lower dollar item, like shot put and discus, those are all being used today. So technically, we wouldn't even have to necessarily spend that money. But it was laid out to say if the district, for example, or us working with them with our user group said, hey, could we make it a little better? Those are just some placeholders to do some small improvements to it. So, and then other things like the playground, that obviously sits over the existing aquatic center. So all of that stuff is kind of contingent on a couple of those bigger pieces. We obviously aren't talking phasing tonight, but if you were to phase this, I think from the city side, I believe that our park side of usage and what we're really tasked with, the aquatic center would be number one. Not obviously it's the most expensive, which is unfortunate, but I think that's been our highest need in all of our survey data going back to the Corp. It flowed through in our regular survey for this, and then those southern improvements I think will be probably the next area that people are going to be talking about long term.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks. Any other questions?
Yes, Dan, if you could talk a little bit about, this is a master plan. It's a plan. This is a 10 or 15-year thing. How often will we be revisiting this plan?
Yeah, basically this will come anytime we do an update in the park. So usually these things will come forward in a couple ways. So let's say another user group in the park or outside the park said we'd like to plunk whatever the new park amenity is, right? Right now pickleball is really huge, but it might be whatever type of sport in the future. A lot of times, the area, the corner of Minnesota and Main Street comes up every time, like that's a great spot for whatever the shiny thing is at the time. That's when this plan would come forward anytime someone was asking to do an improvement in Goerke, so that this body, certainly common council too, could say, well, this is what was laid out in this case 2025. So that's the first and kind of probably most frequent that it comes up. This will get put in at Corp document updates every 5 years too, so it also will live there. And then again, when we do design of elements, no matter who we would hire from an architect or a landscape architect side, so if it's a building or a site amenity, this is the drawing that they would get when we actually start saying this is how we laid it out initially, and then obviously they'd have to do topographical work and kind of go there. So it gets looked at a lot in planning processes, and it gets looked at a lot when what I would say competing interests ask for things in those parks. So if I had to put a number on it, you're probably going to see it at least once a year, and there'll probably be some years you see it more.
So this is not a static document?
No. Again, I think not to harp on the parking lot, but I think there'll be a pretty healthy discussion, I would assume, on the northern parking lot when the aquatic center is designed about what is required by code, what is wanted by users, and then, again, what I think the community wants at that time. And similarly, I think our user groups, youth, Fast Pitch, will probably love to see those diamonds updated very soon. However, there's a lot of moving pieces down there with other partners. So again, for any of that to move forward, there'll be some more discussions that'll have to come here about updates on it.
All right. Anybody else? All right, we have a motion and a second for the approval of the Goerke Park Master
Do you want
Plan.
to ask if anybody else to say anything about it?
Anybody in the audience would like to say anything? 3 minutes? No? Okay. Then, again, we have a motion and approval for the approval of the Goerke Park Master Plan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, the award of the Plover River Crossing Project to Highway Landscapers Incorporated for $1,796,643. Dan?
So this is it's awesome to be able to talk about this tonight. This has been a project that goes back to, it's one of the first items that got pulled into, I think, right at the end of 2019, the first, I think, January of 2020, if I remember right. We do have a couple project partners here tonight. We have Ryan Bars from Rattler Corporation. We have the co-chair, Tori Jennings from the Friends of the Plover River Crossing. We've got Alder Kneebone, who's been heavily involved from this process. How do we get here? If we back up, just for those of you that might not have been on the Park Commission at that time, there's always been an aspiration from going back to Green Circle, even before Green Circle, about getting across the Plover River, east of the interstate. So the crossing across Highway 10, if you're on that roadway, while it's much improved now, used to be even, it's not a place you're going to send a toddler if you need to go from, across that 4-lane interchange there with the interstate. So again, our community's always been looking for it. In 2020, we kind of embarked on what I would say some interested community members saying, hey, can we do this? And it just started to kind of snowball from there. Our Common Council supported it, Park Commission, you supported it, saying let's investigate it. There was some property acquisitions. The property acquisitions and the funding that Park Commission and Council stood behind allowed us to submit a grant. The Friends of the Plover River Crossing helped us to get that grant packaged up. We were awarded one of the largest in the history of the TAP grant, especially in central Wisconsin, and then things just kind of kept falling in place. So what I'm happy to say is, first and foremost, we owe a huge thank you to everybody that's been involved, starting first and foremost with the Friends of the Plover River Crossing, Tori Jennings, Steve Menzel. From there, again, Rattler Corporation jumped on early on. They've been tremendous help in getting all the documentation and grant items together. Obviously, you as Park Commission that stood by the project from the get-go. Common Council, can't say enough. There was some additional funding that had to come along this way, that they were great about it. And really, we've arrived at this project coming in under budget. How this is set up now is that we will get 80% if this is awarded, reimbursed from the DOT. The other 20% has been raised by the Friends of the Plover River Crossing. So essentially, what the city's being asked with is to do all the administrative side of it, which we are legally obligated to. And this is not going to cost additional dollars, and we'll be able to finish this project. If this is awarded tonight, it'll go forward to the Finance and Common Council on, I think it's the 12th, because I believe the city's not meeting on the 11th. That night, if it gets awarded, we'll be ordering the bridge, which is a 6-month lead time. This project will start almost immediately here in November and December, and we hope to be cutting a ribbon in September. So again, a big thank you to everybody that's been involved in the project, and I would happily recommend that we award the project in the amount that's here to the Highway Landscapers, Inc. In case you care, I know I'm long-winded here, but how this project works is there's a lot of grant requirements. That's the low bidder. There is basically they've passed the vetting of the review team and also the DOT. So in this case, we're now also legally obligated to award the low bidder. We've looked through that. They're qualified to do the project. It will not just be them. They will certainly sub some of these elements, the bridge especially. And again, the biggest lead time, you'll see a bunch of things happen, and then we'll kind of be sitting because the bridge does take 6 months to fabricate. So with that, I'm happy to say I recommend award.
All right. Any discussion, comments from anybody? I guess looking for a motion.
I'll move approval.
Motion. Look for a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 5, Director's Report.
Just a couple things this month. So first and foremost, I don't know if everyone remembers, but we had a grant come through, or really a donation for the Forest Cemetery entrance gates along I always get it wrong, Church Street, sorry. And that it kind of deteriorated and had fallen apart. If you drive by that today, you're going to see that all of the walls have actually been rebuilt. The only thing that's remaining on that is that the caps have to be re-poured, and that's due to be done here yet this month. So again, another great, we had a community member step forward that helped raise the money for that. The city did put some money with the Forest Cemetery Reserve funds, but that entrance now, you know, that Weeks Gate is historic, really, and it's going to stand, and it looks really good. So if you haven't had a chance, I didn't get down there today to take pictures, I apologize, but when you're driving up next time, please take a look. We had it all kind of tucked behind bushes through the years. That's all been kind of removed, and now that it's tuck point, it's actually standing as kind of an entrance pillar to that location. So again, another a group step forward. The Sermer Foundation was certainly great to get their gift, and we will be finishing that project up in October. On our horticulturist position, we did get a great amount of interest, so we had almost 30 applicants for that. we really came down to 2 finalists. We had actually 1 internal and 1 external. And basically some of the determining factors was, number 1, the internal was really great, had all the certifications. The external was missing a couple of the things related to CDL requirements. So we've actually promoted from within, which is wonderful. So Rebecca Danchek will begin that position here in October. Because of how this shuffle effect kind of happens, that's now going to be opening up a park technician position that was just posted. So there'll likely be someone new in the department here soon. But again, we're going to have that horticulturist. We're already starting to talk about the meetings and things with Cultural Commons Committee and some of the others. Mr. Freckman, you're on that list. We'll be talking to you, probably bringing you in for some expertise along that way too, now that Becky will be starting that position. So if you all recall, typically there'd be a pool report tonight, but today's actually Ann Hyla's birthday, so I didn't make her come in to do the pool report. So in November, we have all the analysis done, we have all the numbers, but we always do that right after the first meeting. That'll happen in the November meeting. We'll go through all the basically usage data. So we'll have probably, I might do the forestry update that day too, because we'll be done with the tree planting for the fall. So just know next meeting we'll have a couple more of the staff here and we'll kind of go through the things in detail. So other than that, the warm weather has got us watering a lot more than we normally would be. We also haven't been blowing out a lot of the irrigation lines that we normally would be, so we're a little bit behind in that. If this weather holds, we will get some complaints about bathroom closure. So how we do it is, even though our doors say the second full week in October, we'll leave some of the high usage areas open past that. We won't advertise it that way, but we'll still keep them open because people are there, and we'll kind of start going one by one. So it is going to get in the 60s next week, which will alleviate some of it. But if we close the doors when it's 65 and 70 degrees, we do get a heavy complaint margin. So we have to kind of stay on schedule because if it does get cold and we don't have things winterized, it breaks. But we'll try to leave like the Piffners, the boat launches of the world, one maybe in Iverson. Those are kind of the last ones that will shut down if the weather does hold. So we're working through that as best we can. Other than that, that's what I have for the director's report.
Thank you. All right, item number 6, adjournment.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.